We don't have a Findhorn from Scotland. We don't have that place yet, and even if it were built tomorrow, I believe it would be empty outside of vagabonds and depressed artists coming by, looking for some free food. I don't see a committed community enough at this time to make your idea of sustainability working together and mine. I don't see it happening. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. Absolutely we should do it, because I believe that at some time in the next 24 months, for the working class, the working middle class, those who are going to be adversely affected, I believe they will be forced to change. They will not do it willingly. They're tied in and addicted to their comforts. And even while the water is boiling and they're in the pot being boiled, they've developed the comfort. They've anesthetized themselves with distractions and promises from Democrats or Republicans or tea bags that things are going to be better. Nothing's going to be better that I can see for the average person. For the rich, powerful, upper middle class, yes. And so therefore I believe that we must go ahead and do what we're going to do, but I think we must all in the progressive movement who are doing this, I believe we must have a reality check and realize that we're way far ahead of the curve, and it's going to be at least a year or 2 years till the bottom falls out, till your predictions come true, and I believe they will, till Michael Rupert's predictions come true, and Les Leopold's and hundreds of other progressives and Chris Hedges, and then people say, what happened? And we're going to say, are you awake now? Yeah, what the hell happened? You were asleep. You were in a different place. You were a believer. You were a true believer. You believed your Democrats or Republicans or whoever was going to bail it out, make it all better, bring your jobs back, and it didn't happen. More jobs lost. You had to make cuts. Your fire department was cut. Police department was cut. Crime increased. Your suburbs started to look like battle zones. Where was I? You were watching the Housewives of New Jersey, or Skanks on Parade, or whatever show that epitomizes the lowest of human nature, and you were stuck in it. Why? Because you were so damn afraid to look in the mirror and see the truth of what you were and what we had become. Your thoughts, Gerald?
Well, on the community effort, I have to say that right up here in Kingston, New York, in our community, whether it's the wonderful farmers markets that we have, and now just out of nowhere, a group of people are putting together what they call the O Positive Festival, bringing the artists in the community out with bands and artists of different in areas, and they're bringing doctors in to help those who can't afford health insurance, giving them checkups, a lot of alternative practitioners coming in. So they're holding this huge festival where they're putting arts and health together. And it's the first year they're doing it, and it looks like it's going to be a huge success. There are progressive-minded people that want to put things into directions that can change it, and it has to be done, Howard Zinn said it, from the grassroots up.
Okay, I agree with you, but let me just add this, that remember AIDS for Africa, Food for the Hungry, the Hunger Project, great concerts, everyone was attending, and then after everyone left, it was a pigsty. I was the one in Dallas. I was a keynote speaker. And you would have thought that you had a bunch of inbreds who just spent the week celebrating a brother and sister's wedding. I had never seen a place so filled with alcohol and tobacco and fast food wrappers, all the while talking about feeding the hungry, more conscientious, green. We have to do something where the community is not based upon artists coming in, but rather what is going to happen 7 days a week, 24/7.
Well, look, I agree, but what I'm saying is that they're taking steps and trying to do things. And to what I'm saying about getting together with like-minded people, whether it's people from a book club or a martial arts class or whatever it might be. Just starting to build groups, small groups with a common goal. And by the way, people say to me, Celente, you keep coming out there and you tell everything what's wrong. How about some solutions? Well, in the upcoming Trends Journal, in the autumn edition, I'm going to have some of Celente's solutions. And here are three of them. Number one, dramatically cut the defense budget, close all the bases overseas. World War II is over. I know Berlusconi likes 18-year-old kids, but he's no Mussolini. I know Sarkozy, is he's not my kind of guy, or either is Angela Merkel, but she's no Hitler. What are we doing with all these bases over there? I know they're nice places to travel in Italy and Germany, but we don't have to be there. And what are we doing in Japan? Oh, we're protecting U.S. interests, they say, in the South China Sea. Whose interests? What interests? What multinationals' interests? They're not my interests. These people have been fighting for centuries. You're going to get in the middle of that one? Close all the bases, shrink the military budget that is now at $1.2 trillion when you bring in defense-related expenditures outside the Defense Department. Number one. Number two, no more tax breaks and incentives. I'm sick and tired of it. I have my master's degree in public administration, and I worked in my earlier years in urban development and all of this, and economic development agencies. What a bunch of baloney. What a bunch of jerks. Look how they destroyed this country. They cut up beautiful, beautiful areas, urban areas, put highways through them, knocked down gorgeous old buildings to put up federal and state buildings that have all the architectural finesse the old Soviet Union. So no more loan guarantees, no more tax breaks, no more subsidies. Cut the subsidies. They're only going to the rich. So that's number two. Number three, tax all religious organizations and all nonprofits. Before I go further, if you give a donation, you get a charitable deduction. But who are these religions? There are more religions out there than used car dealerships. Like this clown they had down that the media pumped up out of nowhere to inflame the people's hatred. This guy in Gainesville, another Jones. Tax all the religions, all of them. And he won't have issues like this cultural center, this Islamic cultural center. Tax them all. They're bringing in revenue, and they're living the high life. And they all don't have such a great track record anymore for us to look up to. I was raised Catholic, and I got my scars. I got beat up viciously by Sister Marie Rosaire in the 5th grade, and she perforated my middle ear and then left me back. And I look back now and I say, boy, I'm glad Father Foley was a ladies' man. So none of these religions have much to stand on. Tax them. They're bringing in income. Let's treat everybody equally. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, said Christ. So this is how we could balance the budget. We could pay down the debt. Cut the defense budget. We don't need this kind of defense budget. We don't need a third of what it is. Number two, no more subsidies for big pharma, for big agriculture, for the rest of the crooks out there, and these tax breaks and loan guarantees that they give to these sleazy developers all over the country. Oh, they're going to create jobs. It's always the same baloney. And again, I know the facts. I'm educated in this field. I read the studies, the tax breaks that they give them, these bogus stadiums from these bogus plans of bringing in General Electric into Michigan or General Motors into Mississippi. Wherever they may be, the weight of the burden goes on the people. Current events form future trends. Schlumberger, that huge oil maintenance company, services company, Denton, Texas, last week, they gave him a 50% property tax break because they're going to create jobs. How about giving me a tax break? How about all those people that can't pay their taxes? How about all the people's homes that the city of Denton, the city of Yonkers, the city of Los Angeles, how are all the homes that they've taken away from people because they couldn't pay their taxes? But hey, a $20 billion company that's a Fortune 500 company, give them the breaks. You want to balance the budget? You want to bring prosperity back? Those are just three of Celente's solutions.
Very reasonable. And I would go further. I would say give a flat income tax to every person, no matter what their income, and with no deductions, and eliminate the IRS completely. And every corporation, no matter what they do, give them one small flat tax. That way you would bring in an additional $1.5 trillion a year. You would eliminate the IRS. You would eliminate all these deductions. You could eliminate property taxes and payroll taxes. You eliminate all these taxes so the average person would take home more. Corporations would take more. Rich people could have more. But at least everybody would pay the same amount as a percentage. Right now, if you're wealthy, you don't pay any taxes. Corporations, the wealthiest corporations, don't pay any taxes. Small business people pay the burden of taxes. They pay the highest ratio of taxes and the most taxes as a group, and that's not fair. And this way, nobody is left out. Everybody has to contribute something. So if you did that, and on top of having no-fault medical insurance, so you couldn't have ambulance-chasing people suing all the time, which is it's an epidemic in America, but also you wouldn't have defensive medicine. And the only reason they give you extra x-rays and extra medicine, extra medical techniques, because they don't want to be sued and have a lawyer say, but didn't you check for this? Well, no, we didn't need to. Well, you should have. And now this way, 1% of all the hospital, for-profit, non-profit, doctors all go into a pool, and that pool goes to pay for the actual compensations, capped, so that a person will not be checking out with millions of dollars, but rather be helped with the conditions that have been made bad and made whole in income they've lost, and save hundreds of billions of dollars. We could balance a budget in a few years if we did this. Also, while we're at it, why don't we also tax those people who are in hedge funds and equity partnerships at regular income instead of the 15% they pay now? That would bring in an enormous amount of money based upon how much money they're speculating in. And why not, while we're at it, just ban trading in derivatives completely and call null and void the $545 trillion they're holding out there in credit default swap positions?
Oh, absolutely. This whole thing, it's just gambling. They call it another name: synthetic collateralized debt obligations, auction rate securities, derivatives. They produce nothing. They produce nothing. They make nothing other than money junkies. They give them more junk. That's all they do. Look, here's another thing I'd like to talk about, and this affects a lot of small business people as well. And you were talking about the IRS. Number one, as we all know, those that follow trends and read the news and information, the IRS is going to the lowest wage earners in the country, up to the middle class. They're letting the big guys go, and they're squeezing the little people more and more, just like that lemonade kid that they squeezed her. Number one. But number two on this whole issue about what they're doing to the small business people, have you noticed the incompetence, graft, and corruption going on with this so-called infrastructure repair? I'm not kidding. I grew up. My father, may his soul rest in peace, was in the construction business. I grew up in it. I know this stuff. I know what it looks like and how to do it. When are they taking 4 months, 5 months, closing down major roads to repair 2-bit bridges and road repair? What kind of scam is going on over here? They're closing up businesses all around the area over here that rely on the summer tourists. They can't get through. They're detoured all over the place to do road work, Gary, that shouldn't take more than a month or a month and a half. They're stretching it out for over a year. They're draining the people. These politicians in New York, in New Jersey, oh, by the way, that's the other way to really save a lot of money. We don't need new laws. Only enforce the ones that we had that they took away, like Glass-Steagall, like Robertson-Patman, like the Sherman Antitrust Act. We don't need who could make up a job description like this one? Lawmaker. When I grow up, I think I'm going to be a lawmaker. We don't need these clowns in the State House for us to pay them so they could live rent